Hi, I'm Navid Ansari, and this video I'm going to show you how you can have enemy in your game that there are some animation in that enemy sprites that should play once, and sometimes it should play reverse once, or sometimes it should play loop in reverse. And I will show you how you can properly do that. So you can see in here we have this enemy that when we are far away from him, it will go to sleep. If we go close to him, it will wake up, and again if we go away from him, it will go to sleep and go to wake up state. And when we get closer, it follow us, and if we get closer and closer, it will attack us, and you can see that. So without any further ado, let's begin. You can see till here we have this game, we have some basic UI, and we can shoot while we are running, and we can shoot while we are docking, we can run and everything, right? If you didn't watch my videos about platformer game, there is a playlist that I think you should watch, because there is a lot of cool tips that prevent you from having so many bugs. And let's just close that. In here I add some sprite. First one is for attacking, and you can see it, we have it here. Second one when it's dying. Third one is for walking, and the important one when it need to wake up. And you can see if we play it forward once, it will wake up, and if we play it backward once, it will go to sleep. So we don't need to do it in a loop, so we should play it once from here to here once, and again when we want it to go to sleep, we want to play it in reverse once, not looping, right? So I want to show you how you can properly do that. So let's just close everything, and in here in objects I want to create a new folder, a group, and I want to call it enemy, because we want everything to be organized and easy to read and easy to develop, right? So let's just create an object in here. I want to call it obj droid zapper, exactly the name of this sprite that I have downloaded from itch.io, and it is free, you can download it. But if you want to download this project, full project that I'm working on, you can download it from Patreon. And in here let's give it a sprite in enemy droid zapper, and I want to give it this sprite that it is sleeping. And for collision mask, I want to give it one of the sprite. No matter which one you want to use, you can use, okay? Because we don't need to change our collision mask every frame, okay? And I will show you how you can change this mask when you want, but in this case we don't need to do that, okay? We should just set it to one of the sprites for now, okay? First thing, let's add a create event in here, and what I want to do, I want to use our state machine for this to make it really readable, easy to develop, and practical, right? So let's just open up this obj player and go to create of that. I want to copy and paste everything in here. I want to use my codes that I have written for the player, and the first time that you want to create an enemy, maybe take a little time, like 5 minutes to 10 minutes to create that enemy. But after that, it will take 1 minute to 2 minutes to create a new enemy. No matter what attack it has, no matter what animation it has, you can do it fast this way, okay? So you can see our enemy have attack, damage, run, and wake up, okay? So we should create those states. I did copy all of this code from my object player, and if you don't know about that, please watch my video I did in playlist of platformer game. I did show you how you can create a game that is easy to develop and readable for everyone, right? So I did just copy and paste this enum, this player value that we put walk speed, jump speed, run speed, or HSPD, horizontal speed, vertical speed, gravity, and the state that we are in, and player scale X, and everything, right? So in here we don't need these two because our camera is following our player, and I did show you how you can do that, okay? And this is bullet created because this droid zapper has melee attack, we don't need a bullet, okay? So in here we don't need any of this state, and I want to create it from scratch because some of you may don't want to watch whole playlist, and we created from scratch, okay? So if you go here, we can see that we have animation for waking up and going to sleep. So we need two state for a start, okay? So let's just add that. first state is asleep and the next state is wake up. Okay, let's just work with those. And here, because we copy paste from player, it says player states, and but we don't need that. We need enemy states. Okay, enemy states, and the enemy states has sleep and wake up. It's just for the start. And in here we just need this walk speed, because for now our enemy can't jump because we don't have the animation for that. But in future we will add a enemy that can jump, and I will show you how you can do that in your project. So we need this walk speed of our enemy, and let's just give it a 10. Okay, we need this horizontal speed, vertical speed, gravity, and we need all of those for this enemy. Okay, but what I want to change in this player value, it's not for player, it's for enemy, so let's just call it enemy values. Okay, after that let's just change these two to enemy as well. If you want to know how I'm doing both of these line in one action, just hold alt and select both of them and write whatever you want. And the enemy state should be enemy states dot asleep, because at default it's sleeping, right? So let's just delete that, and from enemy states I want to set the sleep state for default in create event. Okay, and for the enemy scale x, the image x scale. Okay, so our create event is finished. So let's just go to a step event, add a step event in here, and let's just go to our player that we wrote all of these for our player, and we want to copy and paste some of this value for our enemy as well. So we need this apply gravity, so let's just copy and paste this apply gravity, and let's just go to our room to see if it's working or not. So if we add this object in here and run, let's see if the apply gravity is working or not. And you can see it working, it go behind the trees. We don't need that, so let's just run it again, and you can see it working, but the animation of sleeping and waking up is playing over and over again. We don't need that, so we should have our state machine now, right? If you remember from my videos about platformer game, you can see that we have input check for player and we have movement function for our player. But for enemy, we don't need this input check. You know why, right? So instead of this input check, what we want in here, when we have a player, we want to check the inputs to do whatever player wants. But in here, enemy is enemy of the player, right? So we should have a function called enemy logic. So we wrote our enemy logic in here, right? So what we want our enemy to do with player, we create this function to our game be more readable and easy to develop. We should do that, right? So you can see instead of this input check, we have enemy logic that we will write our code in this enemy logic. And you can see our player has some movement function and we want it in for enemy as well. So I want to call this function enemy movement. Okay, so now that we need these two functions, let's just create them. But where we should create them, let's just go to our scripts in here. Let's just collapse everything. In a script, you can see that we have scr player. Now we have an enemy. So right click in here, create another script. I want to call it scr enemy. Okay, so this script is for enemy. Let's just close all of these, and you know that we need two functions. Let's just create them. Enemy logic, paste the name that we copy from there. Let's just copy and paste this function again in here, and we need this enemy movement function as well. So let's just paste it here. So now we have those functions and everything is again readable and easy to develop. What else we need? We need a like player, we need this switch case. So let's just copy it. We don't need to write everything from scratch because we have this modular and easy to develop and easy to read system, we can use it. So Ctrl C, Ctrl V to copy it. And let's just delete all of these states. Okay, and we have just one. So switch, we want to check for enemy state. Okay, so we check for enemy state, and the states that we have is sleep and wake up. So let's just check for them. In here we say in case of enemy states dot sleep, we need a function. Okay, and I want to call it enemy sleep state function. Okay, so we need another state for wake up. So in here, instead of this sleep, we can say wake up. Okay, in case of enemy states wake up, we need enemy wake up state function in here, wake up state. So now that we wrote this switch case, let's just create these functions in our script. With that, we can just hit middle mouse on one of these function, and it will open the str enemy for us. And in here we can say function and paste the name that we copied and create a function for that state, enemy asleep state function. We need another function for this enemy wake up function, so let's just do that again. Function, paste the name, and that's it. Now we have enemy logic function, enemy movement function, and all those states. Okay, so you know that from default our state is a sleep state. Okay, our enemy state is at sleep. Okay, so what will happen in here, it will go to this state, enemy asleep state. Okay, so let's just first write code for this enemy asleep state. And if we open the sprite for waking up and sleeping, you can see it's just a sprite with 6 frame. And if we play it forward once, it will wake up, and if we play it in reverse once, it will go to sleep. So let's just see how we can do that. So like all the states that we have worked on, like we did in this object player state machine, you can see first we set the sprite index. Okay, so let's just do that. Sprite index should be equal to spr enemy droid zapper wake up. Okay, so the sprite that we want to use is this wake up, and you can see it here. So what we want it to be at the frame 0. Okay, we don't know what image index is. We don't know if our enemy is at this stage or at this stage or fully wake up. We don't know that. So what we should do in here, we should change image speed to -1, and with that it will play our animation backward like this. Okay, so no matter where our animation is, if it's here, it will play it backward and it will go to sleep. No matter where it is, where the image index is, it will go back to sleep. But what we need to do is to be sure that this animation will play once. When it reach here at the frame 0, it shouldn't play animation anymore, so image speed should be 0 at the time. Okay, so with this image speed equal -1, it will play backward. Okay, so now that we play it backward, we should check if our image index, if it's less or equal than 1. Okay, I will show you why I should change this. If the image index is less or equal than 1, the image speed should be 0 because we are at the last frame. So if we go here, the image index is this yellow arrow in here or whatever. This is image index. So if we check if the image index is less or equal to this frame 1, we know that this animation reached the last frame in here. And because this last frame is staying put and nothing after that will happen, we can do that. We can just say when image index is less or equal to 1, we can set image speed equals 0. Okay, but there is a time that it won't reach this last frame. So what we should do about that? So I have a video about the animation end, and I name it big problem in gamemaker, and I think you should watch that. I can't emphasize how much important is that. So I create a script in here that check for if the animation is end, but this is animation end won't work for us. Why? Because it's checking if the animation that is playing in forward is end or not. But this animation interval, with that we can just check for animation interval. So let's just put animation interval in here, and if we again go to this, I will show you. So the image index at this time will be 1. Okay, and there is a time that, because the image index is float value, so it could be 0.5, 0.3, 0.2, and we should play this frame for example for 5 milliseconds, because all of this frame has been played for 5 milliseconds, for example. So we should play this frame correctly. So with this animation interval, we check each frame how much this image index increase or decrease. So for example, in each frame it increase 0.2 millisecond. Okay, for example. So if we do it with just putting 1 in here, it will work, but in some cases it won't work. And if you use this animation interval, you sure that it will work. Okay, so now that we have this player, this enemy asleep state function, if we run our game, let's just see. Okay, we have a new game, and you can see that it is in the sleep state. Okay, So let's just do the wake up state as well. So what we do in all of these states, we first set the sprite index to our SPR droid wake up again, okay, because we will have some other sprite index that we will use, like run, damage, and attack, and we don't know who is triggering this state, so we should set the sprite index first. Like we did in here, we should change the image speed to 1. Why to 1? Because we wanted to wake up, okay? So if we open this, you can see if we set the image speed to 1, it will wake up, but we should play it once, okay? And in here, we check if the image index is greater or equal to image number -1. So what is this image number -1? If we open up this, image number is 6, okay, and if we minus it by 1, it will be 5. So we check if the image index is equal to 5, so we know that we play our animation correctly and we are at this frame, okay? So but as you know, if you watch my animation and video, it won't work like this. So we use that animation interval again. So let's just do that. So instead of this 1 in here, we change it to animation interval. So with this, we know that our animation properly ends, okay? So when the image index is greater or equal to this number, the image speed should be 0 again, okay? Because we want this animation to play once. So now that we write our states in here, let's just go to enemy logic and enemy movement. I want to do enemy logic first. So in enemy logic, I want to check the distance between this enemy and our player. So we can do that with just writing distance to object, and we want to check the distance between this object enemy to our object player, okay? And we want to put it in a variable. So I want to call this variable distance to player, okay, equal to distance to object. So now we have distance to the player, but we need another thing in here, and that's the direction from our enemy and to the player, okay? Why? Because we want to change where our enemy is looking at to where our player is. So I want to call this variable to direction to player, okay? And I will find this direction to player with point direction, and I give the x and y value of our enemy and the x and y value of our player. So obj player x and obj player dot y, and with this we have the direction from our enemy to the player. So now our enemy knows where to look at, this side or this side, right? So in here I want to check this distance to player. So we check distance to player. If it's less than something like 300, okay, if it's less than 300, we can wake up, we can wake the enemy up, okay? But if it's not less than 100, we can say else. And I wanted to tell the state machine that we have that we found the player. So let's just create a variable in here, and I want to call it found player, and I want to equal it to false for default because we didn't find it at default, right? So found player, if we just create a variable, and in here, if the distance between our enemy and our player is less than 300, we say yes, we find the player. And if it's not less than 300, we say found player false, okay? So with that, we can tell our enemy, if the found player is true, go to wake up state, and if the found player is false, go to a sleep state. So in our states in here, we can check for that. So you can see, you know that from default we are at the sleep state, and in here we check if found player, the enemy state should go to enemy state dot wake up, and we can copy and paste this to here and say if found player is false, go to sleep. So with that, let's just run our game to see if it's working or not. So you can see, because the distance between our enemy and our player is less than 300, it will wake up, and if we go farther from him, it will go to sleep. If we go too close to him, it will wake up again. You can see it works fine, and all the animation run until the end and everything is working fine. And this is how you can play your animation once. In the next video I'm gonna show you how your enemy can attack you, so in that you will have melee attack as well, because our enemy have melee attack, and how you can have enemy logic to follow our player, and how you can have an AI for example to attack the player at the right time. I hope you like this video. Please, if you want to help me, hit that like button. It helps me a lot. And subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.